Home Alone was born from a small moment on family vacation from writer John Hughes. What happened next would change cinema forever, and it was all built inside of a Chicago high school gym. Some movies are remembered for their jokes, others for their spectacle. And then there are films like Home Alone, stories that settle into our winters the way that snow settles onto a quiet street. They feel familiar even on first viewing, warm even when the world around them is cold. They return each December, not as entertainment, but as tradition, a small flickering light during the darker months. What makes Home Alone remarkable isn't simply that it's funny, though it is, or that it's iconic, though that's undeniable. What makes it endure is something gentler, the way it captures childhood in a handmade frame. A story built from practical sets, warm Midwestern light, improvisational performances, and an emotional intention running beneath every laugh. John Hughes wrote the script in less than 2 weeks, but the film's heart emerged slowly, through the decisions of its cast, the instincts of its director, and the craftsmanship of the crew. Chris Columbus didn't just want a comedy, he wanted a movie with a heartbeat. A movie where the emotion was earned, not added. Where the humor came from the character, not the cruelty. Where the stunts felt real because they were. Where one quiet scene in a church would carry more weight than all the chaos that surrounded it. Before the story reached that moment, though, it had to move through the noise and mischief, through loneliness and winter, through the discovery of courage and the complicated warmth of forgiveness. And behind the camera, a small army of filmmakers built that journey by hand. Inside an abandoned high school, under artificial snow, with practical stunts that became legendary. This is not the story of what happens in Home Alone. This is the story of how Home Alone was made, and why it feels like Christmas every time we return to it. Before the first frame of Home Alone was ever shot, John Hughes experienced a familiar parental flutter, that anxious moment while packing for a trip where you mentally count your kids twice. That tiny spark became the seed of a screenplay he wrote in a feverish 9 days. Not as a slapstick romp, but as a story about a child's perspective, about feeling small inside of a loud house, about wanting space, then learning what to do with it. Kevin McAllister wasn't written as a cartoon. He was written as a kid with longing in his chest. Impulsive, overlooked, imaginative, and sensitive. The chaos of the McAllister household wasn't just its noise. It was the emotional setup for Kevin's entire arc. Chris Columbus, fresh off leaving Christmas Vacation, connected to that emotion immediately. He saw in the script a chance to bring warmth to comedy, sincerity to spectacle. Casting became the first critical step. Hundreds of children auditioned, but Macaulay Culkin carried a rare blend of mischief and vulnerability, the ability to slip between humor and melancholy in a single breath. Hughes had insisted he was the one, and Columbus quickly agreed. The production began shaping its tone early. The art department leaned heavily into reds and greens, building a house that didn't reflect realism, but memory. A place where Christmas seemed to live in the walls. The lighting was soft, golden, nostalgic. This wasn't just a setting, it was Kevin's emotional world. And beneath that vision sat the spine of the story. A boy who feels forgotten, lashes out, and suddenly gets what he asked for, the chance to live alone. A childhood wish that becomes the doorway into understanding what home really means. What looked like a suburban dream on screen, in reality was a set built inside an abandoned high school on Chicago's North Shore. The gym became the McAllister interior. Classrooms turned into prop rooms, wardrobe spaces, and stunt rehearsal areas. The school's drained swimming pool became the terrifying basement that Kevin feared, lit and dressed to resemble the shadows of childhood imagination. Because Home Alone wasn't just visually inventive, it was physically ambitious. The stunt team treated the high school like a training ground. Padded mats lined the floors as performers rehearsed falls in slow motion, marking tape spots for where elbows, knees, and shoulders would land safely. The icy staircase gag required the art department to coat the steps in a thin layer of plexiglass, ensuring the stunt double slid with predictable momentum while still looking like a disastrous accident. The iron-to-face gag involved a foam prop designed to swing with perfect timing. Too early, and the camera would miss the illusion. Too late, and the stunt double risked a real injury. The crew joked that the hallway where the gag was filmed became the most dangerous 20 feet in Chicago. Meanwhile, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern brought improvisational chaos to their scenes, often rewriting comedic beats with Columbus on the spot. But Stern was the only actor given permission to react to a real tarantula crawling across his face. A one-take-only moment requiring him to scream silently to avoid startling the spider. Contrasting the high-energy stunt work, Catherine O'Hara anchored the story's emotional reality. She played Kate with sincerity, ensuring the comedy never overshadowed the heart. Her performance reminded audiences and the crew that this story was about a family, not just the chaos surrounding one boy. And at the center of it all, Macaulay Culkin carried the film with a quiet, surprising depth. A child leading a production built inside a school once filled with echoes of other children. Halfway through production, Home Alone quietly faced collapse. Warner Brothers was worried the film wouldn't justify its costs. Crew members overheard tense whispers. The mood shifted. But then, in a twist Hughes' characters would appreciate, Fox executives visited the set in secret, watched the footage, and offered to take over immediately. Production never stopped. No one paused. The crew simply reported to work under a new studio. But the real breakthrough arrived later, not in a boardroom, but in a music studio. Mark Radcliffe sent an early cut to the film composer John Williams, assuming it was a long shot. Williams not only watched it, but he connected to it. His decision to score the film changed its destiny. Williams approached Home Alone not as slapstick, but as a holiday memory. His composition shimmered with winter innocence and quiet melancholy. Somewhere in My Memory became the film's emotional spine, tender enough to deepen the story, powerful enough to elevate scenes that might otherwise fade into the background. Suddenly, small moments gained weight. Kevin's first night alone, his quiet dinners, his wide-eyed fear in the basement, his soft realization that he misses his family. The movie's identity emerged through music. The warmth, the longing, the childlike wonder, all of it surfaced through Williams' score. Columbus went back into the editing room with renewed clarity. He slowed certain moments, brightened others, and allowed silence where silence felt true. The film wasn't just funny anymore, it was emotionally alive. And as production marched toward its final act, everyone sensed the film was building towards one scene, the quiet, luminous moment that would forever define its heart. As production moved towards the famous trap sequence, the stunt team, art department, and cinematographers entered the most meticulous phase. Every trap had to feel dangerous enough to make audiences wince, yet controlled enough to keep performers out of the hospital. The paint cans were filled to a specific weight, ensuring they would swing with believable force while avoiding real injury. The crew built a custom overhead track and rehearsed the timing relentlessly. Inches and frames mattered. Each stunt double marked their steps with tape on the staircase, aligning their movement with the precise moment the can would swing into frame. The blowtorch gag involved a real controlled flame angled away from the performer's head, with a stunt double dipping in and out of frame to mimic Pesci's frantic motion. The heated doorknob effect relied on electricians warming up a metal plate behind the doorknob to create the illusion of red-hot danger without actual heat. And the tarantula? Completely real, and completely on Daniel Stern's face. It was all accomplished in one silent take. Stern mimed the scream to avoid startling the spider and recorded it later in post. These stunts were executed inside a house built for storytelling, a warm, memory-laden environment created with deep reds, soft greens, and glowing Christmas lights. Even in the chaos, the film retained its emotional language. Kevin's antics were playful, yes, but every stunt was grounded in his emotional journey, shaped by lighting and camera work that shifted as he grew braver, lonelier, and more determined. But amid the noise, fun, and choreographed danger, the movie was preparing for something quieter, a moment of emotional stillness on a winter night that would anchor everything that followed. Kevin enters the church the way a child enters a dream, slowly, cautiously, unsure if he's allowed to feel the comfort waiting inside. Outside, the world is cold and wide. Inside, the sanctuary glows with a soft gold warmth. Cinematographer Julio Macat shaped the warm lighting intentionally. No harsh shadows, no bright spots, just a gentle radiance meant to feel like safety. And the children's choir, recorded live, fills the room with a sound that feels both distant and familiar. He sits alone in the pew, and for the first time, the film lets his loneliness fully settle around him. His days of freedom have lost their shine. The empty house that once felt thrilling now feels too silent, too big, too hollow. He's surrounded by Christmas, but without anyone to share it with. It's the particular loneliness only a child can feel, the kind where you don't know how to name what hurts, only that something does. Then, old man Marley sits beside him. Behind the scenes, Chris Columbus told Roberts Blossom to enter slowly, almost hesitantly, as if Marley wasn't sure he deserved the company. Blossom played him as a man who had grown used to people avoiding him, so used to it that even kindness feels foreign. His loneliness is older, heavier, It's not about being forgotten for a weekend. It's about the ache of years lost to pride, fear, and silence. As they talk, their loneliness reveals itself in parallel lines. Kevin misses a family he once wished away. Marley misses a family he fears he's lost forever. Kevin's voice wavers when he admits that he's scared. Marley's voice softens when he admits that he's hurting. The scene becomes a quiet confession. Two people, one small and one weathered, realizing they are carrying the same emptiness from opposite ends of life. And behind the camera, the crew felt it too. This was the moment where the comedy gave way to heart, where two forms of loneliness met in the quiet. And for the first time, neither character felt completely alone. After the church scene, the film shifts emotionally and visually. Columbus asked the art department to subtly warm the lighting inside the McAllister home. This was no longer a cavernous place of echoes. It was a home waiting for its family. Kevin's trap setting montage was shot with renewed intention. While the stunts remained comical, Columbus instructed Culkin to play the scenes with emotional grounding. "You're not doing this to win," he told him. "You're doing this because this house matters to you now." Behind the scenes, stunt doubles rehearsed falls again and again under the gymnasium lights. The floors were padded, the rigs were precise, the timing was rigid. But the emotional undercurrent, Kevin defending his home, and symbolically his family, guided the tone of the sequence. Meanwhile, across the street, Roberts Blossom filmed his quiet reconciliation scene with the actors playing his son and granddaughter. Real snow drifted around them. Columbus captured it with the same tenderness he brought to the church scene. Minimal dialogue, maximum emotion. Catherine O'Hara's reunion with Kevin was filmed near the end of production. Columbus encouraged her to let exhaustion and relief show naturally. Culkin wasn't given blocking marks for the moment. He simply ran to her when the cameras rolled. The result is one of the warmest embraces ever put on film. Unscripted, unpolished, real. The emotional goodbye of Home Alone isn't between Kevin and the burglars. It's between Kevin and the notion that life is better with the people who love him. And as that story closes with Marley reunited with his family, the promise of the church scene is fulfilled. Everyone gets a chance to come home. The legacy of Home Alone isn't built solely on its comedy, though the stunts remain iconic. Its endurance comes from how thoughtfully it was made, from the craft of its production, from the humanity sewn into its humor, from the sincerity that shaped every choice, from lighting to music to casting. Audiences return each year because the film feels real. Not realistic, but real in the emotional sense. Real in the way childhood feels real when you remember it. Bright, exaggerated, warm. A little lonely, but filled with possibility. Cast and crew speak about the production with deep affection. Pesci jokes about the stunt bruises. Stern laughs about the tarantula. O'Hara reflects on the emotional sincerity. Columbus talks about the handmade nature of the shoot. The way filming inside a high school felt like building a world from scratch. And Culkin, over the years, has come to appreciate the film's quieter moments most. The ones that weren't built for laughs, but for heart. The church scene remains the soul of the movie. Without it, Home Alone would still be fun. But with it, the film becomes timeless. A story not just about a kid defending a house, but about the complicated beauty of longing, forgiveness, and connection. The McAllister house has become a pilgrimage site. John Williams' score has become a seasonal anthem. In the film, crafted in snow, sweat, instinct, and imagination, has become a part of the cultural fabric of the holidays. It endures because it reminds us of something simple, that home isn't perfect, that love is messy, and the quiet moments matter most. When the world outside turns cold and lights glow in windows, Home Alone returns like a memory thawing into warm hands. It's more than a movie, it's a ritual, a reminder, a soft echo of what it felt like to be young during the holidays, when the world felt enormous and possibility shimmered in the snow. We revisit it for the laughter, the pratfalls, the lovingly crafted stunts. But those aren't what stay with us. It's the warmth beneath them, the sincerity behind the comedy, the handmade quality of a film built inside a high school by people who believed a holiday movie could be both joyful and meaningful. Most of all, we return to it because of that quiet night in the church, the moment where two people tell the truth, softly, and something inside them shifts. A scene lit like a memory, scored like hope, and filmed like a confession. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew built that moment with patience, intention, and heart. And even though the story spirals back into comedic chaos afterwards, that moment lingers. the emotional compass that guides everything that follows. As the film ends and the snow settles around the McAllister home, we're left with a feeling that's hard to name, but easy to know. It's the warmth of being understood, the comfort of coming home, and the reminder that forgiveness, like Christmas, arrives quietly, and that sometimes, in films and in life, the quietest moments are the ones we return to year after year. Before we wrap, if you'd like to go even deeper into the making of Home Alone, the stunts, the stories, the production magic, and all the moments that didn't make it into the public cut, you can join us over on the Cinemastalgia Patreon. Every week, members get early access to new episodes, plus a director's cut version with extra behind-the-scenes details, added commentary, and the filmmaking stories that I couldn't fit here. You'll also get to vote on future episodes and help shape what we cover next. If you love this show and want more of it, the extended stories, the deeper dives, and the bonus content made for real film lovers, you can find it all on Patreon. The link is in the description.